Hi, welcome back to Hemp Homeschool. This is Katie from Kentucky Hemp Works, and thank you for joining us for lesson 11. This is Ree from Kentucky Hemp Works. Some of y'all may be familiar with Ree already. Some may not. If you've ever ordered from us and had, shipping that was so fast that you thought maybe it was Amazon doing it, that was actually Ree. So Ree works here in the shop with us. We've been best friends for a while, and we've been working together for since the beginning, really,
six plus years.
Since the very beginning of Kentucky Hemp Works. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about our fire starters, how we make those, just sort of fire starters in general, how you can make your own at home, but also a little bit of that kind of history of the fire starters that maybe isn't talked about so much, and how we got to this point, how we got this crop and all that. So right now we've got most of our materials ready to go. These are we're making fire starters, like the same fire starters that we sell on our website. We have a couple of different things. We've got a pan of hemp hurd right here. This hurd is chopped up and dry hemp stalks. So there's some fiber in here. I don't know how well you can tell that, but these are just little bits of fiber. There's little bits of wood in here that look like small pieces of mulch. Then we've got our secret ingredient, our chum here. This is a product of hemp seeds. So this is a oily, mushy mixture, which is a process of crushing or cold pressing hemp seeds. And then we've got a little bit of extra hemp stalks here. It's got a little bit of wax already on it, or left over from previous fire starters. We've also got some little Dixie cups, and these are going to be the molds for our fire starters. The other ingredient,
just about melted.
Almost melted. Okay. So the last ingredient in our fire starters is recycled wax. It's actually more, I think, reclaimed wax would be a better description, because it's just wax that wasn't able to wasn't used in other places. So so there are sources for recycled wax out there, and that's it. That's all of our ingredients. The other ingredient is elbow grease, and Ree and I are going to provide that. So, so we'll get started on that whenever it's ready. So the background on how these fire starters sort of evolved. We had this hemp material, this stalk material available to us, and so decided to make fire starters with hemp, so that we were using the whole plant. But I'm kind of jumping in on the middle of the timeline to start from the very beginning and how we got to this point. Back in 2014, that was the first year that we grew hemp here in Kentucky. I think there was a couple of other states that grew hemp, maybe 7 states that grew hemp that first year. I don't remember the numbers. But 2014 was our first year, and that was under the Farm Bill. So in 2013, we had passed legislation in Kentucky that would legalize hemp for industrial purposes. Okay, so Ree's done here. So what Ree has done is she's taken the hemp seed oil, which is gonna keep the fire burning strong and hot, and mixed it in with the recycled wax. So she is adding this in. Woo! Nice. So she is adding that in, and now we have this messy, wonderful, oily, waxy mixture going on here. So should I just let you mix that?
Yeah, I'm going to just spin for a second.
Just
Use
spin
our
first,
hands.
yeah. So anyway, getting back to our timeline, in 2013 we legalized hemp in Kentucky, but that was a state law. So in 2014, the federal farm bill was passed, and it included an amendment in that bill, or a couple of lines in that bill, that allowed for state departments of agriculture and universities to grow hemp for research and for industrial purposes. So here in Kentucky, we had several universities that wanted to get on board right away and grow, including University of Kentucky, Murray State University. But we also had a lot of private individuals that wanted to grow hemp as well. So the Department of Agriculture, because they are not, they're not a farm. You know, the Department of Agriculture doesn't have land and tractors and you know, it's just a regulatory agency. The department contracted with private growers to grow hemp for research on behalf of the department. So that looks beautiful.
Yeah, we're ready for cups.
Yeah. So what Ree did right behind me was she added a little bit more of this dry stock material just to get the right consistency that we need. So you want to have enough wax in here to hold those little molds together, but not so much wax that it turns into a little candle. So you have to tinker around with the recipe a little bit. In fact, we tinker around with it all the time. But yeah, that's it. We're ready to start packing. All right, I'm gonna scoop while I talk. So the Department of Ag contracted with private growers, and one of those private individuals who was contracted with the department was me. So, you know, it's kind of a funny story. Commissioner Comer called and he said, all right, Katie, we're going to be allowed to grow hemp this year. We're going to grow it for a pilot program. What do you suggest that we do? And I said, well, give 1,000 farmers 1,000 hemp permits, and you'll get 1,000 different research reports. And he was like, oh, okay, well, we can't do that. So what else could we try? And I said, well, could we grow 5 acres just right here? And he said, yeah, that sounds good. So we intended on growing about 5 acres, and what we ended up growing was about 1.5 acres. But once he set the groundwork for us bringing in hemp seed and planting it here in Kentucky, we went to work on finding a seed source. So our next step was, you know, find somewhere to get seed, preferably certified seed. So we worked with who is now Legacy Hemp in Wisconsin, and they helped us to find a source for Italian hemp seed. So if you're familiar with Italy's history with hemp, Italy is a hub of fashion and clothing design and manufacturing. I think it's pretty common knowledge that a lot of really amazing high fashions come out of Italy. But they also use hemp in their fashions. So the Italian government actually had a list of different hemp varieties that were certified seed. So through Legacy Hemp, we ordered some certified seed from Italy, and we planned on having that seed shipping directly into Frankfurt. So
Things don't always go as planned.
They definitely don't. The original plan was we would try to fly them in from Italy straight to Kentucky, because then we wouldn't be going through any states that didn't have legal hemp. But that did not work out the way that we planned it. It actually first went to Chicago because it had to go through customs. So in Chicago, you know, we're tracking it the whole time. You know, we're like tracking it with online tracking, and starting to worry after it lands in Chicago, and then like for a few days it didn't go anywhere. We're like, okay, something's going on. It's not moving in Chicago. So we contacted customs, and they said, well, this is a controlled substance. We're not really sure what to do with it. So we contacted the ag department, and Holly Harris, who was the chief of staff at the time, contacted the customs office and said, hey, this is for research. It's coming directly to the Department of Agriculture. don't worry about it. This is, you know, a government program, yada, yada, yada. So I guess she worked her magic somehow, and Customs let that shipment continue. So we're like, okay, success. We just dodged a bullet here. Oh no, we did not dodge a bullet. We so it leaves Chicago and it goes to Louisville. That's the next terminal, and so it's a UPS hub. Now, mind you, UPS has been fantastic for hemp ever since the beginning. We've had well, I'm not going to get into that. That's another lesson. but yeah, UPS has been fantastic. So UPS gets the package, and it's 250 pounds of seed from Italy. It's 10 different varieties, about 25 pounds each, roughly. So UPS gets this package. All of a sudden, the DEA swoops in and hijacks the package. And so we're like, you know, my first reaction is, okay, I'm going to prison because I just ordered 250 pounds of an illegal controlled substance, which the DEA considers to be marijuana, and tried to, you know, bring it in through UPS from Italy. But
we're just regular people here, man.
Yeah, we are regular people. I mean, we didn't really have much recourse here, but luckily, Commissioner Comer kind of leapt into action, and when I say that, I'm not being figurative or you know, trying to make light of the situation. Like, he immediately started working on suing the DEA to get our seeds back. So Commissioner Comer actually got, I mean, it was one of the quickest court. Apparently, I couldn't believe how fast the court process went, because within, I would say, a matter of just a couple of weeks, I don't remember exactly how long it took.
Long at all.
It was pretty quick. Judge Hayburn, who oversaw the case, actually ordered the DEA to release the seed, and they did so right away, and they sent that seed to Frankfurt. So with all of that going on, we were the only ones that year that were able to import certified seeds successfully from another country, even though we did have to go to court to get them. Yes. And, you know, I mean, we didn't personally go to court. Thank God the commissioner went for us. But at any rate, we succeeded, and we got the seed to Frankfurt. So because of that, we ended up sharing that seed with the other universities that wanted to use some of that Italian seed. And what we ended up with was, I'm going to say maybe 60 to 80 pounds of seed. We had 4 different varieties. So the varieties that we got were Fibronova, Carmagnola, Karma 334. Actually, that was it. It was
I heard those
3.
names in so long.
Yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, it was 3 varieties. We planted Carmagnola and Karma 334 down in South Christian, and we planted the other one in North Christian. Yeah. So we had them spread out over 2 different crops. But in those crops, each crop was about, one of them was a little bit less than an acre, maybe half an acre or 3/4 of an acre. The other one was just right under an acre as well. So instead of growing 5 acres, we grew less than 2, which ended up being perfect, because we soon learned that we had no idea what to do with the crop. We didn't know how to harvest it. We didn't know how to dry it and bale it and sort it and all that. So we ended up even with less than 2 acres with a whole lot of work on our plates. So we planted late because we had the hold up with DEA, but we got it planted, I think June 2nd or 3rd is when we planted. And honestly, that was one of the most beautiful crops that I've seen since then.
It was gorgeous.
At its highest point, those really tall varieties were something like 10 or 11 feet tall. Absolutely gorgeous. And what was amazing about that crop is we made so many friends. we had people that came from all over the country who just wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to help out for a few hours. We had friends that, we didn't know them at the time. They became our friends, but they, came on a bus.
Shout out to the Ohio crew.
Yeah, shout out to the Ohio crew, the Indiana crew. You guys are awesome. But we made a lot of really good relationships in that year because there was so much interest. We had news cameras out in the field that year. We had invited law enforcement and government officials to come out and learn and just be active in it and to help them understand what we were doing right in their backyards.
And everyone was excited about it. Everybody we invited out was interested to know what we were doing and very excited to be invited to understand more. It just made a great headway into the rest of what hemp has become.
Absolutely. There was a lot of misinformation at first. A lot of people thought, well, we're just trying to legalize marijuana. This doesn't have anything to do with food
We're
or
growing
industry.
a low-grade pot.
Growing low-grade.
Yeah, I don't know how many
lowest
times.
grade pot ever.
Yes.
But yeah, what once we started growing it, then we really found out that people were really, I would say, thirsty for education and knowledge. They wanted to learn.
Absolutely.
About it. So we grew the crop for about 2 months. Normally, when you grow a fiber crop, you're going to harvest it before it goes to seed. But we didn't really know what we were doing, so we just harvested when we harvested, and we went out by hand. A lot of days it was just me and Ree out there working our butts off and getting digging roots and getting sunburns. That was the year I got arthritis. But it was a good year. I call it the hemp summer of love because it really changed a lot of people's lives just to be a part of. A lot of people came out and visited us and then were inspired to go home and start maybe working on legalizing hemp in their states, work on growing hemp in their states, start a new hemp business.
Buy products.
Buying products.
Yes.
I mean, we were already experimenting with roots out there in the field in that first year. So at any rate, once it was harvested and we dried it out properly, we field retted it, we let it dry to the point where we could store it safely. And then we baled it up in big square tobacco bales, which are probably about 4 foot by 4 foot, something like that, or 3 by 3 by 3 cubes. So big cubes of hemp bales. And 2 of the girls that we still work with, but who we also met in that first summer, Kirsten and Alyssa, they make up the Kentucky Hempsters. And so they actually bought those bales later on down the road from the grower who grew that crop. I guess I failed to mention that we didn't grow the crop on our own land.
Right.
We worked with farmers.
Yes.
So Jeff was the farmer that grew that crop, and since we didn't know what to do with it, we tinkered around with some things, and we ended up sending it to a tobacco warehouse in Lexington where it's sat there for a while. And then the girls, the Kentucky Hempsters, bought that, paid the farmer, so he finally got paid for his first crop. And they took it to Sunstrand, which was a fiber processor in Louisville, and Sunstrand chopped it up into this form. Yeah, this one's better. Into this form and got it to that consistency of, this powdery wood chips. Oh, look. Here's some hemp rope hiding in there. A little rope sample. You never know when you're going to find hemp samples around here. So they had it all chopped up, and they brought it home with them. They used it for some different projects, but they had so much of it
I remember picking
that we went and picked some of it up. So we loaded up my trunk with trash bags of this stuff and brought them home. Now at the time we were using what do you call it? Sawdust. We were using sawdust to make the fire starters because our hemp ingredient was the oil. So we were still using hemp seed oil, but we were using sawdust. And when I say sawdust, I don't mean like the real fine stuff that you get when you use a chainsaw. I mean like the bigger chunks that look like fine mulch that you get from a sawmill. So we were getting it from a local sawmill, mixing it with recycled wax and hemp seed oil, and then using that to make fire starters. So when the girls had that hemp mulch ready to go from Sunstrand, we were really excited to incorporate that into the fire starters. So anyway, where am I getting? I lost my train of thought.
Well, so we made these fire starters, and this is what they look like in the end.
This is the finished product. So what we did here while we were talking, we just packed it in there about halfway full. We tucked them down into each other so that they would kind of smush and compress down. And we actually will leave these overnight to harden up and get nice and firm. And when that wax hardens up, we can just pop them right out of there. And then we package them up in little packages like this. So I don't know how well you can see that. Can you see the shape of them? You see they're little circles.
Is there a half one in here?
I think that's good. So the fire starters for us are a little bit of a novelty product. They're very labor intensive. There's not a whole lot of margins, not a lot of money in the fire starters. But when we're making them, you know, we make them in the spirit of using every bit of the plant, not wasting anything, recycling everything that we can recycle. So, you know, even though it's not, you know, a big money maker, we probably couldn't survive off of fire starters alone. It is something that kind of goes along with our philosophy. So
Absolutely.
I think the only other thing that I really wanted to mention is that you don't have to have, you don't have to have hemp oil and hemp stalks and recycled wax to make fire starters. There's a lot of ways to make fire starters at home. So I was just thinking about some of those on the way over here, and I know I've got friends that will put petroleum jelly on cotton balls. They'll put them in little Ziploc bags, and then they'll stick them in their camping gear. You can take out those little cotton balls, you light them on fire, and it's kind of the same concept. So in that recipe, the petroleum jelly is acting like your hemp oil. That's what's causing the fire to ignite. And then the cotton balls are kind of slowing that fire down and giving it food, giving it something to continue to burn up to stay lit. I also have seen people that have used dryer lints.
Oh yeah, I'm a fan.
I'm one of those people.
We save that stuff at my house.
I save a dryer lint in a bag all year long so that I don't have to use fire starters. But I'll be honest, having my own wood stove and having used these fire starters compared to dryer lint, these fire starters are way better.
way better.
But it works in a pinch. And getting that dryer lint prepared ahead of time, sticking it in a little Ziploc bag and putting it in your first aid kit or in with your bug out bag, your camping supplies, your medical stuff if you've got first aid kit, which everybody should have at home. That is a good way, because you never know when you're going to be out of electricity, you're going to need to feed yourself, you're going to need to heat up some beans, or you need fire for light, for warmth. You know, we're lucky that all the things that are going on in the world right now are going on in the middle of spring and not in the cold, harsh reaches of winter.
That's so true.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything else to add. This week at homeschool has been a little bit more casual. I spent less time looking up homework assignments and spent more time looking for things that people could do at home, like this, like making your own fire starters, finding some books to read while we're all, you know, stuck at home or not working as much. Also, what did we do yesterday? Oh, we baked cookies.
Yeah,
I ate those for breakfast. So yeah, I should have remembered that.
So good.
So, you know, baking cookies at home. So these are practical things that, you know, increase knowledge in other areas besides hemp. Next week, with any luck, we will have some, maybe one, maybe more experts in other fields that are going to share their knowledge. we really like doing these hemp homeschool videos, and but there's a lot of people out there that have knowledge in different wheelhouses than I do. So we've been reaching out to others to share their knowledge and to share their experiences and to share some hemp information with everyone. We also have asked our MMA fighters that we sponsor to do some workout videos for us. So with any luck, if everything goes well, tomorrow Letitia Mole will post her second workout video. We've talked to some others that hopefully will post some videos too. So hopefully we'll have some cool updates for that, and we'll keep everybody moving, exercising their bodies and exercising their minds. And if you like that, come back and see us again next week. We'll see you Tuesday at Hemp Homeschool, Lesson 12. Bye.